Yeah.
Great. Yeah, happy to present on that. So I'll share my screen if that's
Perfect.
okay. Yep.
Yep.
Well, actually, before I do that, yeah, my name is Dorian, and I have light blonde hair, slightly wavy, and I have a short goatee, and I'm wearing a kind of a jumper that is plum red, and a checkered shirt that's white and black. So here we go. So I'm just going to share my slides. Go. Okay. So hopefully everybody can see that and hear me okay.
Yep. Good to
So
go.
great. Yeah, so we are Vision Island, and you can contact us at vi.ie, and we have a phone number, 1-800-911-110, and that the email is info@vi.ie. Well, what is Vision Island? I'm going to come back to that in a moment. But Vision Island is the national sight loss organization for Ireland, of course. And we provide lots of services free of charge to the blind and visually impaired community of Ireland, including technology training, low vision services. We also support people in their homes, so independent living skills, we call them. And you can make a referral from any end of things. So sometimes a referral into our organization comes from the individual themselves or their family or a professional that's supporting them. But please feel free to refer anybody you know, with their permission, of course, into our service because it's completely free of charge. But the department that I represent is the Technology Support and Training Department. We call ourselves Vision Island Labs. Yeah, coming back to my main slide, the topic I have today is about assistive wearables and how they've gone to AI smart glasses. And then there will be other things I will mention in that. On that, what I'll be covering today, which I already mentioned who Vision Island are, how assistive tech has evolved over the years. This is only a small part of assistive tech because assistive tech, as we all know, is a huge area. Um, then specifically, I'm going to talk about the Meta smart glasses. So very exciting. Glad to hear everybody's excited about that. And then I have predicted some common questions that people want to ask about the Meta glasses. In the context of the visually impaired community is my expertise. So if you have any questions, I hope that I will answer them after I talk about the glasses. So yeah, and then how the glasses in the visually impaired community are being used today. Some success stories, but also the barriers that still present themselves in places like education and employment today. Because truth be told, AI is a great tool for people with disabilities, we've found, but it still has, it doesn't complete the whole picture. And there's still lots of things that all of us can do to remove or reduce barriers to education and employment for people in the visually impaired community or people with disabilities otherwise. So moving on. So yeah, what is AT? So essentially, AT in a summary, you get, I guess you could say, is people with disabilities can be limited by that disability to perform certain functions in society, and assistive technology provides potentially solutions to that, all those limitations. So we've all heard of the term or the differences between, equality and equity, and assistive technology provides a form of equity. So providing people with supports that they need to 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 work within their surroundings. So, what I can touch on briefly, and I have a picture here of there's three individual pictures of a young lad who is using three forms of assistive technology. I will explain those in a moment. Um, and it's showing a kind of a left to right evolution from one form to the other. So what we have on the left side of the image is a young lad in school who we assume is visually impaired, and he has a regular sized book underneath a magnifier, which is then displaying that image on a screen. And essentially, that is a way that he was assisted at one point. We put in the dates, approximately the 2000s, to read his book if he had limited vision. So it would blow up the image on a large screen for him. Those devices called CCTVs, not like security cameras, but essentially CCTVs for enlarging images, were they're very large, they're very heavy. Obviously, they would make that young person stand out in the room because they would have a different piece of tech to everyone else. So then they, about 10 years later, they came up with this is the next image in the row, a small kind of portable CCTV, which was renamed technically to become a digital magnifier, and it's something that this young person or whomever could carry around with them and enlarge their book on a small, almost like iPad size screen, and still aided them to be able to read that book. But now we're moving into the 2020s, can you believe it, and beyond, and we have AI and now the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. So I will come back to how powerful these are. But essentially, you can see perhaps the difference between the way assistive tech has evolved from left to right. So we have large, clunky, dare I say, pieces of tech to something that person can wear on their face. But you can see it's completely changed the game in a sense because it has, taken away the screen from in front of them. Um, the reason that perhaps you're all quite interested in this topic, which is great. So we have the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses. Now, I say Ray-Ban for one reason because, in fact, they were the first of their kind. So approximately a year and a half ago, we have two big companies. So we have Ray-Ban, who make sunglasses, we probably all know. One of their most popular styles is called the Wayfarer. And then Meta. Meta is this huge behemoth of a company. I'm sure we've all heard of them. And they create AI, essentially, amongst other things, as we know. And essentially, you have sunglasses that look like Ray-Ban glasses, but you have a battery inside of them, a rechargeable battery, and you also have two cameras on the glasses that are pointing forward. I'll come back to more about that. You also have the ability to listen to things via the glasses. So aside from other things, music and the like. So it's kind of an upgrade to standard glasses that you would have, which includes now AI, open ear audio, camera, and you can interact with them via voice. That's the important part. So really, I have a whole bunch of I have a video to show just quickly because I didn't want to do this down the camera, and I think this gentleman who his name is Sam, and he runs a YouTube channel. He's visually impaired himself, called The Blind Life, and he talks about how these glasses can be useful. So I'm just going to play that if I can. So bear with me, and it's only going to be brief. Okay. We. I just hope that I'm sharing the sound. Yep, I'll try that again. There we go. There we go. I have it. There we go. Okay.
So if you're a mobile screen reader user, that is definitely something to be aware of. In my opinion, the two main things that we in the blind community are going to be using these glasses for would be reading text and identifying what's around us. That is definitely something that AI has been fantastic for. And since these glasses have AI.
Is that coming through for everyone? I just wanted to check.
Yeah, yeah, we can hear it
Okay,
loud and clear.
perfect. Can you see the video?
Yep, we can.
Oh, great. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You would think that it's going to be amazing on these as well. And it can be amazing, but sometimes it's challenging to get the information you're looking for. And that's my biggest takeaway from using these glasses for several weeks now. The AI component is great, it works, it gets you what you want, but sometimes it's frustratingly slow and tedious to get that information. So, for example, we'll do a real world test here. On my desk in front of me, I have four objects. I have my phone, I have the Meta Ray-Ban case, a coffee cup, and a computer mouse. So let's ask Meta what we see here. Hey Meta, look at what's in front of me.
In front of you, there's a desk with various items on it. There are electronic devices such as smartphones and computer peripherals like mice and keyboards. Additionally, there is a mug containing liquid, possibly coffee or tea.
What else is on the desk?
There is a phone, mouse, mug, and what appears to be a small case or pouch.
What color is the mug?
The mug is white.
What color is the pouch?
The pouch is brown.
What color is the desk?
The desk is brown.
So ultimately, I got the information that I wanted, but I had to keep doing follow-up questions to keep prompting the AI to give me more information.
Okay, I'm going to stop that there. So yeah, that was just, dare I say, that was easier for me to display this information rather than me trying to do this down my own microphone. So I appreciate you watching that for me. So what Sam showed us there is the fact that AI and the AI smart glasses are wonderful. I am going to reiterate that in a moment, but there are limitations so far. There are moves so in the United States of America, we currently have live AI available, which is going to be brought along to Europe sometime, I think, next year. So at the moment, what Sam has showed you there is that you ask the glasses to take a photo, and then it will describe things to you. But that's not taking away from the success that these glasses. I'm going to come back to the questions. The success that these glasses have enabled people to be able to undertake. So recently there was a gentleman over in the UK that ran an entire marathon with these glasses. He's blind himself, and it really showed and it highlighted the power of assistive tech. Not just in the workplace or in education, but for people's interests and pursuits. So Clark Reynolds, yeah, was a gentleman that just recently ran the marathon with the Meta glasses. Thought that was fantastic. And then we'll have another example recently of somebody who wore the Meta glasses, and because of their vision loss, they had to leave their job. And so they've been able to return to in employment because of the Meta glasses, which is absolutely fantastic. Um, and even my colleague, his name, I'm going to give a shout out to Brian over in Cork, who is in the image that is displayed on the screen now on the right. He is somebody who is visually impaired. He works in my team, which is obviously fantastic. But he said that the Meta glasses have essentially changed his life. The simple stories that you hear about these glasses, that somebody goes to a restaurant or a cafe and they sit down and then they ask the glasses to tell them what's on the menu. So it's fantastic. Things we take for granted has allowed people to do. So I'm going to go back to some questions. This hopefully may answer some of the questions that you have. So questions are often that we get, do the glasses come in different styles? Yes. So you got the Wayfarer, the Headliner, and the Skylar, and they all have a different aesthetic to them. Each style has its own distinct look. They're water resistant, but not submersible. The battery life is approximately 4 to 6 hours for standard activity. So if you were using them non-stop, you get about 4 to 6 hours. When they're out of the case, it's about 14 hours between charge. How are they charged? So essentially, the case that they come with, you put the glasses into the case, and then they will charge them. It provides about 36 hours of charge. So so about a couple of charges should last it before you actually recharge the case. How do people know that the glasses are recording or taking pictures? There is a small LED that lights up on the front of the case of the glasses, so they can be seen recording. How effective is the real-time scene description for people with low or no vision? Well, I hope Sam kind of answered that question in that video before. So, yeah, I think hopefully that answered those questions. How discreet is the technology for social comfort? Now, I have something to show you, so I'm just going to turn my screen off. There we go. Prior to these glasses, what was often distributed to people in education, young people or people in employment, to do a similar or provide a similar solution like reading documents and the like, people would wear this. So what I'm wearing is called the OrCam, and the OrCam has your glasses, standard glasses, and then on the side of the glasses is something that looks like, dare I say, a matchbox. And the OrCam could be taken off or put back on the glasses, and you would walk around with this on the side of your head and get text read out to you and the like. 3,500 euro, these cost. So if we compare that to, I have the Meta glasses here. Definitely look a bit snazzier, and they're about 350 euro. So a barrier to use in employment or education has been potentially reduced hugely by the uptake and the difference in the aesthetics. There we go. So I'll just come back to my slides. There we go. And here we go. Okay. So can they be used as mobility aids? No, they cannot. So they take pictures, and that is important to be aware of. They should not be used as mobility aids. Can you get transition lenses or prescription? Yes, you can buy the transition lenses, and you can get your prescription lenses installed. Vision Express, I believe, do that. Are they compatible with all smartphones? Yes, as long as the smartphone can download the Meta AI app and essentially go from there, you'll be able to use them. So please get in touch with us if ever you would like a demo and you are part of this community or a supporter of someone in this community. So where are we go? Yeah, but I just wanted to summarize before I finish that as I kind of demonstrated, hopefully in this short amount of time, that the Meta glasses are a wonderful solution. They've changed people's lives for the better. They've enabled people to do amazing things who are from this community. But the majority of people who are in this community do not use the Meta glasses for, becoming educated or for, doing very detailed work. Most will still interact with something like a screen reader. So JAWS, NVDA are the main kind of screen readers that people in this community use. And because we cannot rely 100%, maybe one day, on AI to provide equity, most people still in this community still use the standard digital documents that we all work with, even us sighted people. And so the biggest problem still to this day, being a trainer, I see this myself, that a lot of everyday documents, signs, websites, emails, still probably unintentionally, but still often exclude people with sight loss. So there's things you can do. So essentially, the simplest one is when you write a Word document or you write an email, and if you're using Outlook, check the accessibility of that document. And then most likely, if you've inserted a picture into the document. Add alt text. Try to remove merged cells. Try to adjust the contrast on the document. And the Microsoft Word accessibility checker is not perfect, that's for sure. We know that. But it's certainly worth getting into the habit, or your flow. Your flow of sending an email might be just to hit the send button, sure. But before you hit the send button, check for accessibility. There's still loads of things you can do. And these are, you know, until AI reaches a point where it can provide more equity, these are important solutions. So other things like um, alt text, heading structure. Try to not use tables if you can. And I see this all the time, these sort of things in education and in employment as well. And most of the time, my students, my service users will often say to me when they'll come back to me, "What have I done wrong? Why couldn't I read that document?" And to be honest, most of the time, it's not them. It's how the document was created. One of the worst things you can ever do for somebody in this community is send a document to them that has been scanned. And I see that all the time. I see that in education, and I see that in employment, sadly. I don't think on purpose, but it still happens. So, and coming back to, I'm sure they're going to tell you all about it, UDL. Why should we learn about this topic? Why is it relevant? So UDL tries to. I'm not going to go into that because I know everybody here is going to talk about UDL. But why should we care about this topic? What this topic, how could they get this information in a different way, is what UDL tries to express. And how is it flexible to different learning styles? So I think accessibility plays into that, and UDL as well. So I'm quite happy to take questions if anybody, because I know I'm trying not to cut over time here. So does anybody have a question for me?
Yeah, thanks, Dorian. You're just about spot on with time. So huge,
Okay,
huge thank you.
great.
There is a question in the chat there from Ruth. They're
Yeah,
wondering, is there a better free accessibility checker available than the MS one?
yeah, that's a great question. To be honest, I think I'm going to say no. And the reason I would say that is because there's nothing as good as humans being educated on the topic. That's my answer. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Because we should know, and we should be able to, hopefully check these things ourselves and be aware of our follies. Because no, I've not seen a machine that does it better than us, really.
Fair enough. Yeah, good
Yeah.
answer. Perfect. We are kind of open to the Q&A chat. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in there. Also, feel free to raise your hand and we can unmute you. Just a few different options for you to ask questions if anyone has any. Might leave it open for another few minutes before we move on to our next session.
Yeah, yeah. They're a great tool, and I think the meta glasses are huge, but
Yeah,
we still need to, that's why you're here, push the plug accessibility in all its forms. And
yeah.
we don't want to revert to tech to kind of
Make us work less. I
exactly,
think I know what you
exactly.
mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Um, I won't go into too much detail, but dare I say there are secret backdoors that screen reader users can use to
mm,
make a document accessible when it's not. But in fact, I never, I tell my students about these backdoors to make documents accessible. But I say, no, we're not going to tell your
mm.
employer about these. We're going to educate your employer on accessibility rather than
Yeah.
you having to do the legwork. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you had that good kind of overall picture of doing those tips and tricks before you do the accessibility checker, like kind of making it a habit, making it part of your everyday life. So I
Yeah.
think that was great takeaways. There are a few questions coming in now. So someone's mentioning a free version of Grackle. for Google Workspace. It's 30-day
Okay,
free trial. So that's one option. And then there's
great.
another question. Is Meta on subscription? So do you need credits or how does that work?
That's a great question, and the answer is no, no, you don't. You just buy the glasses and install the app. So
Okay, simple enough. Also, just a bit of a cautious note here. So, cautious note emerging risk with educators. They're starting to say they don't need to worry about alt text as they can use AI. So, that's kind of, I think, what you're mentioning.
yeah,
So, it might not be great at understanding intent sometimes.
yes, yes. It's not perfect. Yeah, it's not perfect. Not yet.
Okay. Also have a link dropped in there for a comparison of prices for smart glasses. So,
Okay. Yeah, because they do vary wildly in price depending on the colors and the whether you get transitions or prescription or yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
And then finally another one about how easy is it to get support for Meta Ray-Ban glasses? Would it be easy enough for self-reset or troubleshoot as well? Another question.
Yeah, well, if somebody is a member of this community, the blind and visually impaired community, then obviously we would support. But I think from I don't know if they know as much about accessibility, but I know they know a lot. You know, where you purchased the glasses from, they can be supportive. The Ray-Ban shop in Dublin. But yeah, perhaps.
Perfect. And it sounds like you do a few trainings there at Vision Ireland as well,
We do.
where needed.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a huge it's been a huge topic as you can imagine these glasses. So yeah, we do a lot of training on them. But still, as mentioned, we still majority of people in this community still use a screen reader and still encounter problems because of accessibility. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Understandably so. Well,
Hmm.
huge thank you, Dorian. I think I definitely learned a whole lot about these classes and about kind of the wider picture and tips and tricks, and not to be too reliant on them as well, I think is a good point to bring up.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate everybody having me, and I'm a bit honored, to be honest, to be the first. So I hope you all have fun at the Gather event because obviously it's a wonderful event. So thanks
Yeah,
for
and you're
having
setting
me.
the bar high, so huge thank you, Dorian.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Perfect. So moving right along, we have a jam-packed schedule, so we won't kind of keep you too long in between speakers.